You're watching Northern Crimes.
July 4th, 1982, Salem, Oregon. You're 18 years old, fresh out of high school, and the last thing you want to do on Independence Day is deliver pizza. But the phone keeps ringing at Domino's, and besides, you need the money. Your red, white, and blue uniform feels patriotic enough for the holiday as you grab the keys to the delivery van. The address seems straightforward. River Haven Drive South, near Brown Island Road. You've delivered to that area before. Remote, sure, but nothing unusual for Salem's outskirts. The customer sounded normal on the phone. 3 large pizzas, cash payment. You drive through the fading daylight, past the familiar neighborhoods, toward the wooded area where the city gives way to farmland. The van's headlights cut through the growing darkness as you search for house numbers. But something's wrong. The address doesn't exist. You drive up and down the road twice, checking your delivery slip. The house numbers skip right over the one you're looking for. You park the van and step out, pizza boxes in hand, wondering if you've made a mistake. That's when you realize you're not alone in the darkness, and the person who called in this order, they were never planning to pay for pizza. Today, we explore the unsolved mysteries that have haunted Oregon for decades. Cases where ordinary moments turned deadly, where families vanished without explanation, and where the beautiful Pacific Northwest landscape conceals secrets that refuse to stay buried. This is Northern Crimes. On July 4th, 1982, as America celebrated Independence Day, 18-year-old Sherry Eyerly was called into work at Domino's Pizza in Salem, Oregon. She just graduated from Sprague High School and was living with her cousin in an apartment in South Salem, working part-time as a pizza delivery driver to earn money for her future. What should have been a routine delivery on a holiday evening would instead become one of Oregon's most haunting unsolved mysteries. Sherry was born on December 6, 1963, a young woman with brown hair, blue eyes, and a petite 5'2" frame weighing just 100 pounds. She had distinctive scars, a 1-inch mark on her right eyebrow, another under her chin, and an 8-inch surgical scar on her lower spine. Between her left thumb and forefinger, she bore the tattooed initials, TB, a permanent reminder of a past relationship. That evening, Sherry left work at 9:30 p.m. to deliver a pizza to an address on River Haven Drive South near Brown Island Road in a remote area of Salem. She was driving the company's delivery van and wearing her red, white, and blue Domino's Pizza shirt with blue jeans, the uniform that would make her easily identifiable to customers. When Sherry failed to return, concern quickly mounted. Later that evening, her abandoned pizza delivery van was discovered with the parking brake set and the door standing open. 3 large pizza boxes lay scattered on the ground nearby, along with Sherry's hat. Despite the obvious signs of a struggle, there was no trace of Sherry herself. The investigation revealed disturbing details about the delivery call. Police determined that the address on River Haven Drive was fictitious. It simply didn't exist. The person who'd called in the order had also provided a false name, and investigators traced the call to a hotel in Salem. Someone had deliberately lured Sherry to that remote location with the intention of harming her. Adding to the mystery, the day after Sherry's disappearance, someone called the Domino's Pizza where she worked, demanding a ransom for her safe return. The caller never contacted them again, and no one attempted to collect any money, leaving investigators to wonder if this was a genuine kidnapping attempt or something more sinister. For years, suspicion focused on Darrell J. Wilson, who drove a lime green pickup truck similar to a vehicle seen near the site of Sherry's disappearance. Wilson had initially denied knowing Sherry, but later admitted to being acquainted with her. Strangely, he had painted his truck brown just 8 days after Sherry went missing. When questioned by police about taking a polygraph test, Wilson refused, but said he would speak to a psychic. The case took a dramatic turn when Wilson committed suicide just hours after being questioned by investigators, fueling speculation that he was responsible for Sherry's disappearance. However, later events would prove this theory wrong. In December 2007, 25 years after Sherry disappeared, authorities announced a breakthrough. William Scott Smith, already serving 2 life terms for the murders of 2 Salem women, pleaded guilty to Sherry's murder. Smith revealed that he and an accomplice, Richard Nassif, had planned to kidnap another female Domino's driver for ransom, but when she wasn't working that night, they took Sherry instead. According to Smith's confession, it was Nassif who made the ransom call to Domino's. Smith claimed he strangled Sherry to death and dumped her body in the Pudding River, the same location where he'd disposed of his other victims. Nassif had died of cancer in 2003 and was never charged. Despite extensive searches of the Pudding River area, Sherry's body has never been recovered. The river has flooded many times since 1982, and any evidence may have washed away long ago. Sherry Eyerly's case demonstrates the dangers faced by those in service jobs and the evil that can lurk behind seemingly routine customer calls. Though her killer has been identified and punished, Sherry's family continues to hope that someday her remains might be found, finally bringing her home after more than 4 decades. On December 7, 1958, the Martin family of Portland, Oregon, set out on what should have been a simple Sunday drive to collect Christmas greenery in the Columbia River Gorge. Kenneth Martin, 54, his wife Barbara, 48, and their 3 daughters, 14-year-old Barbara Barbie, 13-year-old Virginia, and 11-year-old Suzanne, left their northeast Portland home around 1 p.m. in their cream and red 1954 Ford Country Squire station wagon. They would never return home, vanishing into one of the Pacific Northwest's most enduring mysteries. The Martin family was well established in Portland's community. Kenneth worked as an electrician, while Barbara managed their household on Northeast 56th Avenue in the Roseway neighborhood. Their eldest child, 28-year-old Donald, was serving in the U.S. Navy and stationed in New York at the time, making him the only family member to survive what investigators would later suspect was a carefully orchestrated crime. The family's final day began with plans to gather holly, pine boughs, and other greenery for Christmas decorations, a common holiday tradition in the evergreen-rich Columbia River Gorge. Their route took them east along the scenic highway that winds through the dramatic canyon carved by the Columbia River between Oregon and Washington. The last confirmed sighting of the family came around 4 p.m. when they stopped for gasoline at Dean Baxter's service station in Cascade Locks, about 40 miles from Portland. Baxter later recalled that the family seemed in good spirits and continued to head east after their stop. A waitress at the Paradise Snack Bar in Hood River, approximately 20 miles further east, reported serving the family a late lunch, describing them as appearing normal and happy. As evening approached, other motorists reported seeing the Martin family at dusk on the north bank of the Columbia River in Washington state. This would be the last confirmed sighting of any family member alive. When the Martins failed to return home, friends and family weren't initially alarmed. Sunday drives sometimes extended longer than planned, but when Kenneth didn't report to work at Echo Electric Home Service Company on December 9th, and the children were absent from their schools, concern mounted rapidly. That evening, Kenneth's boss, Taylor Eckel, officially reported the family missing. The investigation that followed would become one of the largest manhunts in Oregon history, involving multiple law enforcement agencies and hundreds of volunteers. The family's home showed no signs of struggle. Laundry sat in the washing machine, dishes remained on the drying rack, and substantial money was left untouched in their bank accounts. The first major breakthrough came in February 1959 when volunteer searchers discovered tire tracks leading off a cliff near the Dalles, about 20 miles east of Hood River. The tracks appeared to match the Martin family's Ford wagon, and paint chips found on rocks at the scene were consistent with their vehicle's cream and red color scheme. FBI analysis confirmed the paint matched the make and model of the Martin car. Detective Walter Graven of the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office became convinced this wasn't an accident. His investigation revealed that the tire tracks showed no return marks, suggesting the vehicle had been deliberately pushed over the cliff. The timing also troubled investigators. If the family had been seen at dusk on the Washington side of the river, how had their car ended up on the Oregon side after dark? In May 1959, 5 months after the disappearance, the Columbia River yielded its tragic secrets. The bodies of 11-year-old Susan and 13-year-old Virginia were discovered floating downstream, identified through dental records. Both had died from drowning, but the discovery of their remains only deepened the mystery surrounding the fate of Kenneth, Barbara, and Barbie. Detective Graven's investigation focused on 2 ex-convicts, Roy Light and an unnamed accomplice who'd been in the area when the Martins disappeared. A cafe owner reported that both men were present when the Martin family stopped for their final meal and left at approximately the same time. Adding to the intrigue, a stolen gun covered in dried blood was found near Cascade Locks, later traced to merchandise that Donald Martin had been accused of stealing from Meyer and Frank department store years earlier. The case remained cold for decades until November 2024, when amateur diver Archer Mayo discovered what appeared to be the Martin family's station wagon submerged in 50 feet of water near Cascade Locks. The vehicle was found upside down, buried nose first, under sediment and rock in an area known as the Pit. In March 2025, recovery crews managed to extract portions of the vehicle, including the chassis and engine, which were sent to the Oregon State Crime Lab for analysis. While investigators believe the parts match the make, model, and color of the Martin vehicle, they can't definitively confirm it belonged to the family without recovering the vehicle identification number. After 67 years, the Martin family disappearance remains officially unsolved, but the recent discovery has renewed hope that this enduring mystery may finally be resolved. On July 26, 1971, 3 juveniles moving horses between properties in the Inglewood area near Coos Bay, Oregon, made a grim discovery that would remain a mystery for exactly 50 years. Floating face up in the waters of Snedden Creek was the badly decomposed body of a teenage boy, because he, quote, almost looked like a frog in the creek. According to Captain James Patterson of the Coos County Sheriff's Office, the unidentified victim was given the nickname Frog Boy, a name that would stick for half a century. The body belonged to a Caucasian male between 14 and 18 years old, standing approximately 5'4" to 5'6" tall and weighing around 145 pounds. He had long, light brown hair and was wearing a long-sleeved turtleneck sweater. His pants, blue jeans laced up the sides with leather straps down the legs, were found a short distance away. Due to severe decomposition, investigators couldn't determine a cause of death, though they estimated he died anywhere from 5 weeks to 5 months before the discovery. Despite extensive investigation and canvassing of the area, no one could identify the young man. With the technology available in 1971, Coos County eventually paid for his burial in a local cemetery, and the case went cold. The nickname Frog Boy was chosen deliberately. As Captain Patterson explained, it was something that would stick in their heads. Maybe the next generation of law enforcement people who come through the office, maybe they'll remember that. And they did remember. In 2017, using a grant from the Oregon State Medical Examiner's Office, the department arranged for the remains to be exhumed. Bone fragments were sent to Parabon Nanolabs for DNA analysis, creating a profile that included details about the victim's ancestry, eye color, skin tone, hair color, and facial features. A digital reconstruction showed what the deceased may have looked like in life. The breakthrough came when investigative genetic genealogist C.C. Moore began working the case in August 2021. After 3 months of painstaking research, she built family trees that led her to identify the victim as Winston Arthur Maxey III, and in doing so, she solved not just his mystery, but another one that had been unfolding simultaneously. Winston was born on October 4, 1954, in Rupert, Idaho. The second child and first son of Winston Arthur Maxey Jr. and Lorene Maxey. Described as a cute, shy boy with a big heart, he was known for his resourcefulness. When his parents couldn't afford to buy him a skateboard, he built one himself from scrap plywood. At 15, he began dating a girl who became pregnant in the fall of 1970. In spring 1971, after an argument with his mother, 16-year-old Winston was asked to leave the family home. With nowhere to go, he slept at a local campground until his cousin offered him shelter. When his pregnant girlfriend returned to Rupert for a visit in April 1971, she refused to speak with him, knowing he wanted her to keep the baby. Shortly after, Winston's older sister Vicky arranged for him to visit her in Boise. During his brief stay, he learned from a friend about booming logging and fishing industries on the Oregon coast. Vicky recalled that Winston told her he was going to Coos Bay to look for work. This was the last time anyone in the family saw him alive. The family never reported Winston missing. As his sister Martha explained, their parents had grown tired of his rebellious behavior and previous runaway attempts.
He went out on his own. That was what he chose to do. There's nothing we can do.
Meanwhile, a baby girl named Lori Merriam had been adopted at just 2 weeks old in June 1971. Throughout her life, she searched for her biological father, eventually creating a Facebook page called Where in the World is Winston Maxey, and submitting her DNA to ancestry websites. When C.C. Moore discovered Lori's Facebook page during her research, the pieces fell into place. DNA comparison confirmed that Frog Boy was indeed Winston Maxey, and Lori was the daughter he never knew existed. The identification was bittersweet for Lori.
He didn't even get to live his life, and here I am living mine. Man, it crushed me.
But it also brought closure after a 50-year search for her dad. Today, Winston's death remains officially undetermined, but the Coos County Sheriff's Office considers it an active case. Lori believes her father was murdered and has changed the Facebook page to Who in the World Murdered Winston Maxey? She's also established the Winston Arthur Maxey III Foundation to help other families with missing loved ones. After 50 years, Frog Boy finally has his name back, but the mystery of what happened to Winston Maxey in the summer of 1971 continues. On August 2nd, 1993, 22-year-old Katie Eggleston kissed her family goodbye and headed to work at AllNet Communication Services in Lake Oswego, Oregon. It was her first day working alone as a telecommunications salesperson, a milestone she'd been eagerly anticipating. By evening, she'd vanished into thin air, launching one of Portland's most haunting unsolved cases and leaving behind a mystery that continues to baffle investigators more than 3 decades later. Katie was born on May 4th, 1971 in Redmond, Oregon, to parents Paul and Heather Eggleston. Her father, a former Seattle high school teacher, had become superintendent of the Redmond School District. Her mother worked as an elementary school teacher. Katie was one of 4 daughters in a close-knit family that valued education, independence, and hard work. After graduating from North Eugene High School in 1989, Katie enrolled at Oregon State University in Corvallis. There, she joined the Alpha Chi Omega sorority and earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in English in the spring of 1993. Following graduation, she moved to Gresham to live temporarily with her older sister Janet while launching her career. Her new job at AllNet represented a fresh start and a step towards independence. The company specialized in long-distance communication services, and Katie was hired as a field salesperson, meeting with clients around the Portland area. August 2nd marked her first day making sales calls completely on her own. That morning, Katie attended a company meeting before setting out. She made several scheduled stops at Northeast Whitaker Way, visited a bank, fueled up at a gas station, and had lunch at Burger King near Lloyd Center. Her final appointment was at the Port of Portland building at 700 Northeast Multnomah Street, just a few blocks away. Inside the building, several witnesses saw Katie making phone calls in the lobby. 5 different people later recalled that she appeared, quote, worried and preoccupied, a striking contrast to her usual composed demeanor. At around 2:15 p.m., the man she was supposed to meet saw her exit an elevator with an unfamiliar man. He was described as having a dark complexion, dark hair, and wearing a blue blazer. That was the last confirmed sighting of Katie Eggleston. When she failed to return to the AllNet office for a scheduled 5 p.m. meeting with her supervisor, concern quickly mounted. Katie was known for her professionalism and reliability. Missing such an appointment was deeply out of character. Around 5 p.m., a witness spotted her gray Volkswagen Golf still parked outside the Port of Portland building, but by early the next morning, the car was gone. At 12:30 a.m. on August 3rd, a security guard discovered the vehicle abandoned in an industrial complex on Northeast Airport Way, roughly 9 miles from where Katie was last seen. The car raised troubling questions. It was unlocked with the window down and keys still in the ignition. Katie's purse and workout clothes were inside, but her AllNet sales binder and passport were missing. Most unsettling was the lack of any clear signs of a struggle, suggesting she may have left the vehicle willingly or under pressure. The investigation was plagued by early missteps. Portland police initially theorized that Katie had gone into hiding to avoid testifying in her sister Janet's federal tax evasion case, but that theory quickly collapsed. Janet had already pleaded guilty, and Katie was never required to testify. The case gained renewed attention in 2004 when serial killer Joel Patrick Courtney was arrested for the murder of Brooke Wilberger in Corvallis. Courtney had been in Portland at the time of Katie's disappearance, and both women were strikingly similar. Young, blonde, blue-eyed Oregon State students. But despite speculation, no DNA or physical evidence ever connected him to Katie's case. In 2006, the FBI quietly informed Katie's father that Courtney had been cleared in 2 unnamed disappearances, but emphasized that Katie's case remained active and under investigation. Over the years, her family pursued every available lead, hiring private investigators, distributing flyers, and offering rewards, yet no credible tips ever emerged. Katie's parents, Paul and Heather, passed away without answers. Heather in 2011 and Paul in 2017. Both went to their graves believing their daughter had been murdered. Today, the disappearance of Katie Eggleston remains one of the most mysterious and unsettling cases in Portland history. A bright, motivated young woman, eager to begin her adult life, simply vanished in broad daylight, leaving behind a trail of questions and a family still waiting for the truth. In February 2016, residents of Forest Grove, Oregon began reporting a strange, otherworldly noise that would captivate the nation and spawn countless theories about its origin. What started as a local nuisance quickly evolved into an internet phenomenon, drawing comparisons to everything from alien contacts to secret government experiments. This is the story of the Forest Grove Sound, a mystery that appeared as suddenly as it disappeared. Forest Grove is a quiet college town of about 25,000 people, located 25 miles west of Portland in Oregon's Tualatin Valley. Home to Pacific University, it's the kind of place where the most exciting news typically involves high school sports or campus events. But in February 2016, this peaceful community found itself thrust into the international spotlight by a sound unlike anything residents had ever heard. The first report came from Paula Lynch, who lived near Gales Creek Road on the west side of town. She described it as sounding like a, quote,
giant flute being played slightly off pitch, or steam brakes whistling in the distance.
Others compared it to a one-note violin or the highest string on a guitar played at full volume. Everyone agreed on one thing. It was, in the words of the local fire marshal,
a horrendous noise.
Lynch captured a recording of the sound on her phone and posted it to Facebook, where it quickly went viral. The 30-second clip revealed a piercing, sustained tone that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once. Multiple people heard it on different days and at varying times, primarily concentrated on the west side of town near Gales Creek Road, which runs toward the coastal foothills. As word spread, Forest Grove became a magnet for theories. The police department's blog, typically filled with routine reports, suddenly became a lightning rod for speculation. Some callers suggested broken water mains, underground construction, or malfunctioning septic systems. Others pointed to more bizarre possibilities: Amish settlers using Apple devices, biblical prophecy, or even alien interference. The most far-fetched theories circulated quickly. Even late-night television got involved. Jimmy Fallon joked the noise must have come from Donald Trump. The police received voicemails quoting scripture and hundreds of emails offering increasingly wild explanations. One resident insisted the sound came from a government research facility in Alaska. Another suggested it was an attempt to drive residents out of town and take over the area. Seeking answers, Dr. Andrew Dawes, a physics professor at Pacific University, attempted to approach the mystery with scientific rigor. He created a crowdsourced map, allowing residents to report where and when they heard the sound, hoping to triangulate its origin. But even with numerous entries, the data failed to identify a precise location. A breakthrough came just weeks later when Langston Holland, an audio engineer in Florida, analyzed the viral recording and compared it to known industrial noises. His frequency analysis revealed a striking match: the signature tone of a failing HVAC compressor valve. In a February 22nd email to Dr. Dawes, Holland explained that the sound's characteristics, its harmonic resonance, slow onset, and eventual disappearance, aligned perfectly with a malfunctioning industrial air conditioning system. According to Holland, the worn valve would eventually stop sealing properly, then degrade to the point where it no longer made noise at all. The poorly sealing valve is going to wear to the point where it'll stop making noise anyway, he wrote. That's exactly what happened. By the end of February 2016, the mysterious sound was gone. Despite Holland's credible analysis, his HVAC theory never gained widespread traction. The media had moved on, and many locals preferred to keep the mystery alive. As Dr. Dawes later observed,
maybe once people know an answer, they don't want to ruin it for anyone else.
the Forest Grove sound became a textbook example of how modern media, online speculation, and community folklore can transform a technical glitch into something resembling a supernatural event. In an era of instant communication and viral sharing, even the hum of a failing machine can spark global fascination, at least for a while. Today, Forest Grove has returned to its quiet rhythms, but the legend of the sound lingers in forums and YouTube videos. For some, it remains an unsolved mystery. For others, it's proof that sometimes the truth just isn't as fun as the unknown. On November 2nd, 2021, 47-year-old Shane Sprenger left his job site near Mackenzie Bridge, Oregon, and drove home to Vida for what should have been a brief break. He'd been working as a carpenter, rebuilding homes in an area devastated by the Holiday Farm fire, the same fire that had claimed his own house the year before. Shane was living in a fifth-wheel trailer, determined to reconstruct not just his property, but his entire life. He never made it back to work that afternoon, vanishing without a trace, and launching a mystery that would expose familiar patterns in Oregon's justice system. The Holiday Farm fire, one of the most destructive wildfires in Oregon history, erupted in September 2020. It scorched over 173,000 acres, destroyed more than 1,300 homes, and forced thousands to evacuate. Shane, like many fire survivors, was living temporarily in an RV while working to rebuild, embodying the resilience that defines many rural Oregon communities. His sister Stacy described him as a dedicated, reliable man who would never walk away from a job site without explanation. When Shane failed to return or contact anyone, his family immediately knew something was wrong. They reported him missing, but the initial response was all too familiar. Another missing person in a region where people seemed to vanish with alarming frequency. The breakthrough came on June 27, 2023, when Shane's partial remains were discovered off Quartz Creek Road, about 5 miles southwest of the Blue River Reservoir. The location was significant, less than a mile from where his abandoned truck had been found nearly 2 years earlier. The discovery confirmed the family's worst fears, that Shane had met with foul play. But his case would soon connect to a broader story. In September 2023, human skull fragments were discovered in the same general region, setting off a second investigation, one that would reveal shocking lapses in evidence handling. The skull had reportedly been sitting in an Oregon State Police lab since October 1st, 2023, untested, unprioritized, and nearly forgotten. This is where a man named Parrish Bryson enters the story. The father of Michael Bryson, who disappeared after attending a rave near Dorena in August 2020. Parrish had become an unlikely advocate for missing persons' families across Oregon. Through the Michael Bryson Foundation, he connected with others like the Sprengers, forming a network of families whose loved ones had vanished in Lane County's remote wilderness. What Parrish uncovered was a pattern of institutional neglect. The skull fragments could belong to any of several local missing persons, his own son Michael, Shane Sprenger, or others. Yet the evidence had sat untested for 20 months. Families were told if they wanted to expedite DNA testing, they'd need to pay $3,500 out of pocket. So they raised the money, but after growing media attention and public pressure, the state eventually agreed to cover the cost. The skull was sent to Bodie Technology in Virginia for forensic analysis. Results were expected within 8 to 10 weeks. Detective Tim Wallace of the Lane County Sheriff's Office acknowledged the reality.
Sometimes only 3 deputies patrol the entire 4,700 square mile county during a given shift. In a place where terrain is rugged and resources are stretched thin, even the most urgent cases can stall for months.
Parrish Bryson, whose own sister Dawn was murdered 22 years before Michael's disappearance, understands the family's pain firsthand.
Until someone is in this situation, it's almost impossible to understand.
His advocacy has helped create cold case units and shine a light on the dangers of eastern Lane County, where minimal law enforcement presence creates the perfect conditions for predators. The region, stretching from Vida to Blue River to Dorena, has quietly become what some investigators call a missing person hotspot. Dense forests and steep ravines offer cover, while the sparse population means crimes can go undetected for far too long. As families await DNA results that could finally bring answers, Shane Sprenger's case has become a symbol of both tragedy and hope. Tragedy for the lives lost and justice delayed, but hope that systemic change might prevent others from suffering the same fate. The skull fragments are more than just forensic evidence. They represent the voices of the missing, demanding to be heard after years of silence. From vanished families to phantom sounds, from bones and forgotten rivers to names lost for decades, Oregon's mysteries aren't confined to legend. They're found in files, in forests, in faces no one remembers. Some were solved after decades, and others may never be, but in a place where wilderness and silence still dominate, the unknown has room to grow, and sometimes it never lets go.